Hello and welcome to Digital Photo Mentor YouTube Live. Haven't been here for a couple weeks, and we're in the middle of a rainy. I don't know what this is in Edmonton, but hopefully we don't have any thunder showers today, and the power doesn't go out. As you may have noticed, if you're a regular here, I chopped off a good chunk of my hair for the summer, and of course now it's rainy. So, anyways, today we're going to be talking all about soft light. 3 weeks ago, we did the opposite and I covered hard light. So I'm going to review some of the stuff we talked about then in terms of quality of light, what that means, what hard light and soft light each look like, and then we'll dive deeper into soft light, the types of subjects that work well with soft light, and what to do with images that you've taken in soft light that maybe don't have as much punch as you'd like because the light is hazy or low contrast. So let me just take a look. We've got lots of regulars here. Let's see, Neil was here first from the hot flatlands. Well, it's definitely not hot here, Neil, so maybe I'll send some of our rain your direction. You can have some of the rain. Deb is in Idaho now. Your name, Alaska Trail Rider, might need to get updated now that you're in Idaho. Janet, Lee, Janet said Coquitlam. And another Janet, good afternoon. Notice my short hair. Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, right? When you see it, if you've seen my other videos. So let me just jump right in here. I'm going to start sharing my slides. How many of you, I'm going to ask this first, while I'm just talking here, check my sync here. How's my sync? Lee already said looking good, but I don't know if that's my hair, my sync. So check out the sync on the audio. Is it in sync? And tell me if you watched the one from 3 weeks ago where we did hard light. So you'll get the opposite here today. Leaves having a heat wave. Also sunny in Southern California. Vivian's here. Awesome. Rob, how is the audio sync? Am I in sync? Out of sync? I can do a little clap to check. Sync is good for now, he says. Okay, well, like I said, when I change scenes, often what happens is it goes out of sync. So we'll cross my fingers and see how that goes. So let me just keep going here. I'm going to change to my screen here. There we go. Okay, so now I can see, you should be able to see the slideshow. Yes, there we go. All right, if my head gets in the road, I will move my head off the screen. So this first part is going to be review. If you watched the live a couple of weeks ago, if you didn't, you can go back and watch that one as well. They will work well together and you'll learn something independent. Okay, so quality of light. I mentioned this a moment ago so there's quality of light and then there's quantity. So quantity is obviously how much light there is, but what is quality of light? So in photography terms, we talk of it in terms of soft and hard light. So what does that mean? Okay, we also talk about color of light, which would be like your white balance, for example, okay, warm versus cool. And then we also talk about the direction of light. So these are the three properties of light, okay? So the quality, hard versus soft, the color, warm versus cool, and the direction of light. Where is it coming from in relation to the subject in particular, right? So light creates a mood and a feeling. And one thing I want to talk about and stress over and over again, I can't stress this enough, is that shadows are good. They are your friend. Okay. So by shooting in soft light, our goal is not to get rid of shadows. It's just to soften them a little bit. Okay. And there also is no such thing as bad light. We talked about that a couple weeks ago with hard light. Many people think that hard light is bad, but there are some scenes and some subjects that work better with hard light, okay? And then there are others that work better with soft light, okay? So let's take a look at the comparison, okay? So hard light is high contrast, very intense, It's dramatic and it's texture enhancing. Okay, so a hard light source also, or hard light comes from a small light source. So the sun, think about a flashlight, your on camera flash, things like that. Anything that is a small light source. Okay, so even though the sun itself is large, because of its distance, its relative size is very small. Okay, on the other end of the scale is soft light, which is produced by a large light source. So a large light source could be an open sky with cloudy day. Okay, so it's overcast. The light is spread out over the entire sky. That is a large light source. Something that is reflecting off of a wall or a large reflector or softbox, things like that. Okay, so think about a photo studio where you have these big, giant softboxes. Okay, and soft light is the opposite on every aspect of hard light. So where hard light is high contrast, soft light is lower contrast. Okay, it's also flatter, so you can end up with images that look really dull. We'll talk about that when we get to processing. It is less dramatic, which in some cases we want, and it is texture reducing. Okay, so if you're doing a portrait, for example, and we'll look at examples of when you want to use hard light versus soft light. For a portrait, you don't necessarily or generally want to enhance the texture in the skin, okay? Unless you're photographing, an old guy with a beard and you want him to look more sort of grizzled, right? But if you're photographing your partner, your mother, your sister, any woman or girl or baby, generally they don't want to have the texture in their skin enhanced, okay? So soft light is the way to go. So when we look at the comparison, we've got hard light versus soft light. Okay, so look at the tennis ball. In the zone where you can see the light from going from light to dark on the left image, that's where the texture falls. Okay, so it's the crossover. Okay, in soft light, the crossover is more gradual, so that's why you get less texture. Okay. I used this example a couple weeks ago as well because it's the most extreme. On the left, we have bright sunlight, which produces hard light. And then on the right, we have fog, which is the ultimate soft light. Okay? The light is spread everywhere. Here we have both scenarios, and we'll talk a direction in a minute, of the light coming from behind the monkeys. But in one, there's some haze, so it softens. So you can see it is a softer light versus the sun, where it's not softened and it has harsher shadows and more contrast. Okay. Again, hard light, bright sun versus standing in the shade. It's that simple. Okay. Once again, people, hard light, you can see the shadow on the lady's face, the lady with the goat, bright sun hitting her midday. Okay. Versus the kids are underneath an overhang in the shade, and the light is soft. You'll notice that they both have direction of light coming from the side. The lady with the goat, the light is coming from the left side, and the girls, it's coming from the right side. But there is direction of light in both, but notice how one has deeper, darker shadows and a well-defined shadow, meaning you can draw a line. And with the soft light, your shadows are still there. They can be just as dark almost, but the line is not as defined, okay? The line of the shadow, you cannot draw an outline where you see the shadow, okay? Is another perfect example of a portrait with hard light on the left. You can literally see the sun is hitting him and it's beautiful, but you can see the line across his cheek where the sun is falling or creating a shadow of his nose. Versus the other older gentleman on the right, there is also light from the same direction coming from that right-hand side, but because it's softer, the shadow is not as hard. Look at the shadow on his cheek, and it's less defined. Okay, so it's called hard edge transfer. It's called edge transfer. Okay, so edge transfer is where the edge of the light changes from light to dark. Is it sudden, like the one on the left? You can draw a line, or is it more gradual, like the one on the right? Okay, it fades off into darkness. Okay, that's how you can tell if there's hard light or soft light. Look at the shadows. Where's the edge? Is it falling off instantly, or graduating. Okay. Same subject, once again, hard light versus soft light. Okay, you could see the sun hitting the tulips on the left versus they're all in the shade on the right. Once again, same subject, two different lighting scenarios. Okay, hard light on the left, bright sun, you have more contrast. This is where you pick up more texture. On the left, I embrace the softness. Okay, so on the left I embrace the hard light and the contrast and the texture. On the right, I embrace the softness and went with it in terms of adding a soft edge vignette as well. Okay, once again, same subject, two different lighting scenarios. Hard light, bright sun. Soft light, early morning light. The sun is not even up yet. Okay, so the sky is still the whole light source. Okay, the entire sky is the light source. Right. This is a unique one that I found in my catalog or my archives where it's the exact same subject taken a minute or two apart. And what happened was the light came out and hit the cactus on the left image and then went away to give me full shadow on the right. Okay, notice that the parts of the cactus that are lit up in the one on the left, that's where your eye goes. Okay, so it's much more contrasty and the shadows are deeper. The one on the left, you'll also notice it's bluer and the color has changed. Okay, so I haven't done a lot of editing to either of these. I wanted to show you literally how they almost came out of the camera. Okay, shadows and soft light tend to be cooler, meaning bluer, than things that are in bright sun, as you can see here. Okay, but look at how the little bug on the yellow flower stands out more in the soft light than he does in the hard light example because he's not lit up. Okay, so only the things that are lit when you have hard light stand out. Okay, when you have soft light, you can make things stand out based on how you edit them, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Another example, waterfall in the bright sun. I used a high shutter speed or a fast shutter speed to freeze the water because I'm not going to be able to get a slow enough shutter speed. I was not using a tripod. I didn't have a tripod here, okay, versus the one on the right. I didn't have a tripod there. Actually, no, I did have a tripod there. So I did have a tripod, long exposure on the right in the soft light, in the hard light with the sun. Because it's so much brighter, I wasn't able to get the long exposure, right? So I embraced that and went with a fast shutter speed to freeze the water drops and get the rainbow as well. Okay, so is one better than the other? No, they're just different. Okay, so similar subject matter, two different treatments. Okay. So I mentioned the direction of light a minute ago. So where is the light coming from? If the sun or the light is in front of the subject, okay, coming onto them directly. Think about a person, okay? So if the light, my light is actually this direction here. So it's coming from the side. But if I turn this way, now I'm facing the light. So that's front light, okay? When you have a subject that is front lit, it's very flat. Look at the ball. It doesn't look like it has a shape. It looks like a flat disc. Okay, versus light from the side, okay, gives you more three-dimensional qualities like the ball here. So when the light comes from one direction to the other, a subject like this that has a shape will be more three-dimensional in the image, okay? So it doesn't mean that the ball, this is exactly the same ball, but look how different it looks, okay? Finally, backlight can also be dramatic, right? But it has its own challenges, okay? Now notice in the last one, now we're talking about hard light versus soft light. The last one is hard light, so the shadow is very well defined, okay? In the first image on the grass, you don't see the shadow. It's there, but it's very, very soft because there's not a lot of contrast with soft lighting, right? The middle one also is hard light, right? So hard light, increased texture and contrast, soft light, less texture, okay? And all of these things come into play together with direction of light. So let's take a look at some examples of directional light and how they play out with your subject. Okay, so here the light is literally behind me. Okay, so front lighting on the subject will be behind you, behind the camera. Okay, so if the light is falling directly on the subject, you get fairly even light like this. Okay. like this. And in these two examples, it works well. Okay, it's very even on the flowers and it makes it nice and soft. Again, doesn't get any softer than this. Okay, there's hardly any shadows. You don't see the shadows. They're there. You can see it falling away from the hibiscus into the darkness in behind. Okay, so there is shadow. It's just very subtle. Okay, side lighting on people. So I mentioned my light is up here. Okay, this direction. Okay, in these examples, both of these examples, the light is coming from, where are we? No, this way. Okay, the light is coming from the right side in both examples. How can you tell? Look at the cheeks, especially the little boy. Okay, his cheek on the right of the picture is brighter than his cheek on the left side. So that's there. That indicates where the light is coming from. Okay. Side lighting in other subjects. Look at the dome of the building in the first image. Okay, you can see that the light is coming from the side because it wraps around the dome. Okay, same with the sand. Again, it's very soft lighting. It's not super contrasty, but you can still see that the light on the sand is coming from the left, picking up that very subtle texture in the sand. Side lighting again works really well when you have stuff with texture. So even though it's not high contrast, we can increase the contrast in processing and bring that texture out. Right? Look at the first image and the second image, both coming from the left this time. Okay? Look at the texture in the bird's feathers. Okay? Backlighting, again, light coming from behind the subject, and certain subjects like flowers and things that are semi-transparent work really well with backlighting. If you combine that with soft light, like I have here, okay, it's not as contrasty. If you had full backlight in the sun, it creates really deep shadows on the front of the image or the front of the subject, okay? Because it's softer, you don't get that high contrast, and we still have detail in the front, especially that dark sunflower. So some subjects that work well in soft light, right? You've already seen some flowers. Look at how punchy these are, even though they're soft lighting, okay? The one on the right was actually taken with a cell phone, believe it or not, okay? So the light is soft. You don't see the harsh shadows, but there's still lots of contrast based on how I've processed it, okay? And I'll show you that coming up. Pets and animals, right? When you have something that has fur, you saw the bird earlier with the feathers, when you have a lot of contrast, right, it's hard to keep the detail in things like fur, right? Especially on like Fuzz, for example, if she's in the sun, her white fur just gets completely blown out and it's hard to keep detail, right? You'll get more detail in the fur with soft lighting like this. Okay? And the cutie pie like this little raccoon, okay? Same thing with the turtle, okay? The sea turtle on the beach. So soft lighting, I can keep the detail, right? We've already talked about people, okay? Both of these ladies are standing in either a doorway or there's an overhang. So the lady on her porch on the right versus the lady in the doorway on the left. So there's no direct light hitting them. It's indirect light, which is soft light. So indirect light means the light source itself, which in both cases is the sun, is not hitting them directly, okay? The sun is hitting something else, or it's a big wide open sky, and even the open sky is not hitting them directly because they're underneath something, okay? So it's coming in indirectly and bouncing around to land on them, okay? So people look better when they have soft lighting, okay? Especially ladies. Okay, so side light on the boys, light from the left-hand side. And where's the light on the lady in the marigold field in India? Okay, definitely backlight. Okay, so the light is behind her, coming from through her veil, lighting up the veil. And in that case, I have used a reflector on her face to bounce a little bit more light back in. And I've also brightened her up in post-processing, okay? But because the light is not direct sun again, okay, it's soft light, it's not as high contrast, and I can maintain that detail, okay? Landscapes and nature, right? If you've ever seen any of Ansel Adams' photos, he does work a lot in obviously black and white, and a lot of his images are some of his lesser known images are close-ups that remind me of the one on the left. And when I took that image, I had that in mind, okay? Because the contrast is natural, the leaves were lighter and the trees were darker, okay? I didn't need the sunlight hitting the tree to enhance the contrast. It was already there. So the soft light made it very, very subtle. Okay, same thing with the Mount Fuji in the morning, soft light before the sun has even come up above the horizon. Right, add in the little bit of cloud and mist on the water, and we have this beautiful softness overall. Right. As a side note, to get images like the one on the right, okay, you have to plan for that. That was taken on our last Japan tour, which was last spring, and we got to this location early in the morning. So we left our hotel about, I want to say before 5 a.m., 5 a.m. ish, to get on site before the sun came up. Okay, so when we got there, it was actually still dark, and we were using headlamps. And then as we waited, the sky started to lighten, and this is the light that we got. Okay, so when you come on tour with us, we plan all of those things for you. If you are traveling by yourself or you want to do landscape photography, that's what you need to be prepared to do to get images like this. Okay. Also, it means that you miss the crowds a lot of times because not everybody who is a tourist wants to get up at 5 a.m. and go to that spot, right? So the benefit is twofold. You get beautiful light and you miss the crowds of tourists. Okay. Waterfalls, I showed you the example earlier where I used the long exposure to get the silky water. Okay, so if you want to get this type of effect, you really need to be in soft light or subdued lighting. Okay, so you don't want the waterfall to be in the bright sun because you won't be able to get the longer exposure. And it also increases the contrast where you'll have bits in the bright sun and bits in deep shadow, and it's really hard to maintain detail. Okay, so waterfalls and any kind of moving water or stream. Also, if you want to get the ocean waves with a long exposure, you might use an neutral density filter, right? To get that, you want to be in the soft light. So keep in mind, whenever I say soft light, just think no sun, okay? No sun, soft light, okay? Shiny things, okay? So anything that is chrome also looks great in soft light because the light sort of wraps around and reflects off of things to give you this beautiful bright shininess. If you're trying to photograph anything that is metal like this in the sun, you get lots of sort of what's called specular highlights where the sun is hitting the chrome, and it just doesn't give you that same overall shiny look, right? So if you're trying to photograph cars, get them out of the sun as well. Are you seeing a theme here? Remember, no sun. Right? Often street photos, when I hit the street, when I'm traveling and I'm looking for stuff, if it's sunny, I tend to go to the shady side of the street. Okay. So the image on the right, from my recollection, again, I can't confirm because I don't have a picture of the other side of the street. The other side of the street was sunny, okay? But I walked in the shadow side just looking for little bits and pieces of vignettes that were in the shade, okay? So I'm trying to avoid this drastic contrast, right? And photographing in the shady side of the street. So think about that, right? The left image I just loved because they were all either looking at a phone or sort of off in La La Land, right? One guy's on the phone. I took several of these guys as we were waiting for our bus to arrive in India. This one was on tour as well, right? So I just loved those guys. Panning is another situation where it's better if you don't have bright sun because you want to use a slower shutter speed in this case, okay? If your subject is in the shade and the background is in the shade, when you do your panning, nothing is going to get overexposed. Okay? If you've ever tried to do panning in the middle of the afternoon in the bright sun and you put in a 30th of a second, you're probably going to get overexposed pictures, right? Unless you have a neutral density filter, right? even if you have a neutral density filter, you're still going to get so much contrast of that bright and dark that your panning shot may not come out the way you want it. Okay, so panning, aim for, again, no sun. No sun. Oh, and apparently that's the last of my slideshow. So let me just come back over here in Lightroom while I come to the questions. All right, so let me just shrink that. All right, so any questions about what you just saw in that slideshow? Can I ask you, do you have, just say yes or no in the chat, do you have a better understanding of hard versus soft light? Just say yes or no. And also, Rob says he looks good in soft light. Good for you. Let's see. All right. Any questions? I'm going to leave this open, and I've got several different examples that I want to show you here as well. Things that I've edited that were taken in soft light. So I've got some before and after editing. Deb says yes, she's got a better idea. Awesome. Okay. And as well as having a better idea or understanding of hard versus soft light is, do you have a better understanding of when to use it as well? Right. Sheila says yes. Matt says yes. Janet, Catherine. Awesome. Okay. I'm liking all the yeses. If you're saying yes, you can also give it a thumbs up on this video. Just go to the YouTube thumbs up down below. Right. So like this video. Carol, Janet, Vivian, Lee. Awesome. Okay. So it seems to be the consensus is that everybody's got a better understanding of it now. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you a few before and after examples of what the image looked like when I took it. Okay. Versus how I did the editing. Okay. And the one thing that I want to make sure that you see here is looking at the histogram. So when we look at a histogram of an image that was taken in bright sun, okay, and I can go back in here and actually find, just to give you a comparison here. Where's my... Okay, so when we look at these ones taken in hard light, okay, for example, okay, let me look at this one. So if we look at the original, right, the histogram, this one's not going off the top. That's not the best one. I'm looking for one that's got really contrast, lots of contrast. Let's try this one. Right, so when I look at the original, this one is unedited, you can see that the histogram stretches all the way across, and there's a lot in the dark area, okay? But there's also a fair bit up here, okay? As I sort of scroll through these are underexposed on purpose, but look at the difference. A spike here and a spike here, right? If I look at the one where I did this backlight image, okay? The original, you can see a spike in the highlights and a whole lot of information in the blacks. So there's a pileup at each end of the histogram. So that's kind of what I'm getting at with this histogram here on the hard light versus the soft light. So when I head to the develop panel and I look at the histogram as something shot in soft light, okay, look, we have nothing at this end and nothing at this end, and everything is mostly in the middle, okay? You might even find that on images that are really flat, on a really flat day, it's even more extreme. For example, let's see how this one looks. Okay, look, I don't have anything white here, okay? So there's lots of midtones or highlights and some shadows, but there's nothing white. Let's find another one that's very flat. Let's try, I think this one's probably going to be in that realm. Okay. So again, everything is in the middle. Okay. So there's not much up at the highlight end and there's not much up at the shadow end. Okay. So everything tends to bunch in the middle when you have a flat image. So that tells you there's not a lot of contrast. Okay. We have direction of light coming from here. Okay. So there's still going to be some texture because it's coming across. So what did I do to this image? When I see something like this, I probably initially envisioned it in black and white in my head. Okay, so that's exactly what I did. I turned it into black and white, right? Oh, looks like I did some color grading. Yep. I'm going to turn the color grading off just to, yeah, just so we have a pure black and white on this one, right? So I went pure black and white, and what I did was added a dark edge vignette, used a mask, and I'm going to do a few edits, but I just want to show you these before and afters. Used some masks to brighten or darken this left side, right, and the background, as well as adding texture to this little frog character at the front here. Okay, see that? See how I'm adding texture to him right here? If I zoom in on this guy. Oops, that's a little too much zooming. Okay, watch as I turn the mask off. Okay, so it's really punching him up. Okay, and the tool that I used there is clarity and texture, as well as I added blacks and whites. Right. On this next one, so again, portrait, taken in soft light. He's sitting in the shade. There is still direction of light. Can you see it? Okay. Remember, look at his cheeks or look at the nose, right? This side of his nose is brighter than this side, okay? So brighter, darker, okay? So this is the original unedited image. And I've edited this one a few different ways just because I wanted to see what I could do with it. Okay, so I did one. I wanted to increase this grunge and bring out the texture in his beard, right? So see how I've done that, right? Again, using some masking. I did another one, which was full black and white, also still bringing out the texture in the beard, okay? Might actually brighten him a little bit more. There we go. Okay. And another one that just had some color grading, okay? I think I did this one. Yeah, I did this one in Photoshop. So I took it to Luminar and I applied a LUT on this one, okay? But overall, what I've done is, if I look at this one, okay, added some contrast. So watch the histogram, okay? Added some contrast, added even more contrast. So look at how much more spread out it is, right? And I'll show you how to do that really quickly in both Lightroom and Luminar, okay? We can use the curve tool to do that. Similar subject, again, in the shade. I added contrast by darkening the background and giving it a lot more black, okay? So if I look at the clipping warnings, okay, when I hold down the Alt or the Option key, it shows you what's clipping, okay? In this one, a little bit of black. In this one, nothing. Okay, so just by adding black and by increasing the whites, right? I could increase, oh, I got a little bit of clipping there, okay? By increasing the blacks and the whites, I added contrast. We can also add contrast by using a curve, okay? So this is still soft light, but look at how much more punchy it is than the original, okay? So you can start with soft and add punch. And honestly, it's easier to do this, to go this direction, than it is to take a high contrast image and try and tame it down. Okay, there's more work to do in doing that. Okay, this one here, for me, the subject was these really interesting roots. Okay, there's a little bit of sun. So this is actually mixed lighting. So there's hard light here and soft light here. Okay, I did a crop, okay, and I darkened this part down here that was in the sun because I really wanted to bring this out, okay? So you can see the before and after, okay? So I really wanted this part to be the subject, okay? I'm going to double check that I've got good whites here. There we go. So I'm always going back and just checking things after I apply some edits, right? So I just did a quick shift double click on the white to make sure that I have white. Another before and after. Again, this one is not as flat because there are bright spots in the sky, okay? But if I minimize the sky, the rest of the image doesn't have a lot of contrast, okay? So you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at your histogram, okay? Where is it spiking in the sky, okay? I'm pressing my J key. Rob, could you please share how to get Lightroom keyboard shortcuts cheat sheet for everybody if they don't have it? In the after image, now nothing is clipping. Notice I've toned down the sky big time. Oh, I gotta fix my update here. There we go. Oh, that's interesting. Something just changed here while I did that. Some kind of AI change happened. Well, that's interesting. But look at the difference. Okay, so I punched up the contrast here, right? And darkened the background and the sky. So I did that with these masks. Okay, see how flat? Contrast. Okay, so even still, I needed a mask. Right, this is the tree that I showed you earlier. That's the original. Right, again, mostly dark. And I brightened it up and turned it back in black and white. I still think I need more white. A little bit of clipping on the whites. I'm okay with that. Okay, so it's got this subtle change from black to white here. I'd probably get rid of the wire as well. So now I want to edit a few live for you and show you how to add some punch to your images. I want to start with one of these of Mount Fuji because it's a fairly... Actually, I'm going to put this one first. It was really cloudy and we could barely see the mountain when we got to this location, okay? It's actually a tea plantation. It's a really interesting place, okay? You can see, if I just brighten it here, that's rows of tea, okay? Super interesting. Okay, so we wanted to get the tea in the foreground with the mountain. Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to do this one in Lightroom, and then I'm going to do the second one in Luminar as well, okay? And the reason that I picked 3 of these is because I want to see if I can copy and paste and use the same settings in Lightroom as I can on the first image on the other 2. Okay, so the first thing I generally try, and this is a raw file, okay, is adaptive color. This is something that is specifically in Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. Okay, so as long as you've shot a raw file, you can find the adaptive color profile here. And I use this one on the high contrast hard lighting images as well, and it actually helped to minimize the contrast. Here, you notice that it has actually brightened up the dark areas down here and added some contrast. Okay, so if I go back to Adobe, right, watch the histogram. It's not actually changing that much, but it is expanding it. Okay, so watch the histogram as I do that. Okay, it's moved everything up a little bit. Now I'm going to do my patented shift double click trick. Okay, so if you don't know this one, hold down the shift key while you double click on the word whites and then blacks. Okay, you'll notice it snapped them into positions so that it's touching the edge of the histogram. Okay, I'm going to undo twice. Right, watch the histogram as I do this. Okay, so watch here for the whites. Ready? I'm going to do whites. See it move? There it goes. Now watch the left side of the histogram. It's going to move to the left. Okay, so what that's doing is it's stretching things out so that I have pure black and pure white. Okay, if I do the Alt trick, when I click on it, I barely have any blacks clipping, right? I'm probably going to increase that. And there's no white clipping. So this is what we want. Sometimes I'll take it farther, right? That's too far, so that I have a little bit of clipping, right? And then I'll bring it back with the highlight slider, right? Like so. So that just gives it a little bit more contrast. With the blacks, I'm going to go a little farther, right? The other thing you can do is use the dehaze slider. This one is great as well because it adds contrast wherever there is none. Okay, so notice how it's really picking up the sky, right? It's also picking up contrast in here because it is hazy, right? So anywhere there is haze due to fog or cloud like this, look what it's doing. It's doing a fantastic job on the mountain itself, right? Now, it's also making these 2 black. So I'm going to scale this back a little bit, right? I'm not so concerned about detail in the trees because our subject here is the beautiful mountain, right? But if I wanted more detail in the trees, we could push up the shadows a bit, okay? I'm going to use a preset to add an edge vignette, and all that does is applies effects tool here, right? Just to darken the edges. I always bring my feather down to a minus or 0 in this case, and Luminar it's minus, okay? Then I set my shape and the size, and then put the feather back up to 80 plus. I want it to be super soft, okay? Coming back here, the only other thing I want to do now is to warm it up a little bit because it's pretty blue, right? So we could try auto. That's a little yellow for me. We could try daylight. Now that's not bad. I find that daylight often gives us too much magenta, but in this one, it's actually not bad. I usually dial the magenta down to about 5 or 6, but I think I'm going to leave it in this one, and actually a little bit less yellow, right? So there's a little bit of yellow creeping in these clouds in here, right? But we still have enough blue in the sky. Let's take a look at the before. Look at how flat, right? Versus after, right? When we look at the clippings, we're really just clipping these dark areas in the trees down here, right? And if I want more detail there, I just have to bring the shadows up a little bit. Okay, but keep in mind that when you bring the shadows up, right, you're also going to lower the contrast, right? So now that I've added dehaze, I need to double check that I'm not clipping other areas, which I was. Okay, so it's that balance again, okay? Remember, it's a dance of editing, okay? So I applied a bunch of stuff here, then I applied a bunch of dehaze, then I came back to check my settings here, okay? Can I get a little more highlights? Yes. Okay. So I'm pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable on the highlights. I don't want anything clipping. So as soon as I go up higher to see the clipping, I bring it back until it's gone. There's a tiny little spot in the middle, but other than that, that's pretty good. Okay. You can also, with adaptive color, increase it. Okay. So it defaults to 100, but you can actually increase it or lower it a bit. Okay. So if you don't want it as much, right, you can lower it. I actually like what it's doing, so I'm going to leave it at 100. Okay. So before and after, look at that. Okay. The other thing we could do is use a mask to select the sky. Let's see if it picks up the clouds on the mountain as well. It's not bad. It's picked up a little bit down here, okay? So I might have to go and subtract from that. I always try the AI stuff first. So landscape is going to pick up mountains. So I'm going to see if it does that here and then minus it. So I'm doing a subtract landscape mountains. Okay, so it's not picking up the mountains. I'm going to make sure I get mountains and snow, okay? But it's thinking that these clouds here are part of the sky, okay? Which they're not. And it's got the top of the mountain. So I'm going to do another subtract and just brush it out, okay? So full 100% flow and density, and just minus it out of these areas here, right? As far as the mountain goes, let's see how that looks. Now it is getting the top of the mountain. I haven't done any edits yet, okay? So let's do that, okay? Because we can't really see what it's doing. Okay? I can bring down the exposure or the highlights, and it is darkening this cloud here and here. So I still want to subtract from there. Okay, so I subtracted with the brush. And all I need to do, I'll just get back to the brush, is turn on auto mask. So now when I do auto mask, it should find the edge as I paint over the cloud. Like so. It kind of overflowed a little bit. So I'd have to do a tiny bit of work on this one, right? I'm trying to minus it off of this cloud, okay? And this one over here. That's not bad, okay? The sky's a little dark. I went too dark on that one. Okay, so one thing you want to watch out for, don't do stuff like this, obviously, right? It makes it look really fake, right? So I wanted to just punch the sky color up a little bit because it's kind of gray. So I'm balancing it with plus exposure. Remember midtones is exposure. And I'm adding some black, okay? So that's giving me a bit more color. I could also go into another way to add contrast is actually using the color mixer, okay? Because you can adjust the brightness and darkness of certain colors, right? So I can darken the blues, right? Brighten the yellows, which is there's some yellow in the sky and the clouds, right? And that does a nice job here as well. It's actually doing a better job than this mask. So I might just remove this mask because I'm not super happy with what it's doing. It's not bad. I'm just going to soften it a little bit. You can actually dial the amount of the mask down now. This is something that is actually pretty recent, okay? So I'm on this mask here. I can apply it more or less, okay? So there's our before, very flat, and after. Now I want to copy these settings, okay? And I'm going to copy everything except cropping, okay? So cropping is not checked off. And this new option here is when you pull this menu down in Lightroom Classic, okay, you can select everything, or you can just select the things that you've actually done something to, which is modified, okay? So now I'm going to the next one, and I'm going to paste. Now it is going to paste in that mask. I probably shouldn't have chosen the mask, okay? But I can turn off the mask or delete it because I did some painting, and it's going to be really specific. Wow. That took a really long time. Whew, look at that. Copy and paste actually did a really nice job. Look at how well the mountain stands out, okay? Our histogram, right, is gone from very flat, right, to something a lot more contrasty. Yeah, sky's not bad, right? I might crop this one a little bit, so I have a little bit less of this foreground here. I like the T, but maybe not so much. How about to the bottom of this wall here? There we go. And I don't like this little thing over here, so I'm just going to get rid of the wall, edge of the wall. There we go. Something like that. I don't know why, but it feels crooked to me. Does it feel crooked? I think it's the T. The T is got these diagonal lines, right? But look at what that did. So before and after, just from copy and pasting. So it doesn't have to be the exact same image, okay? So I'm going to paste again. But this time, I'm going to copy. And I'm not going to do the mask, right? And I'm going to try it on this image. So it's a similar image, not even the same subject, right? I don't know why it's giving me this AI processing. That's interesting. Oh, probably the profile. Oh, looks like I did the crop. Not bad. There's something in the middle here. Some kind of weird cloud or something in the middle here, but it's not bad. Okay, so again, before and after is giving me a close starting point. Right? I can go from here and tweak it a little bit. It's more yellow than I would like. And I might do some spot removal because there's a dust spot. But overall, look at how quickly I was able to do 3 images with the same settings. Okay? So I took this one, pasted, took this one, pasted. Right? And minor tweaks only needed. Okay? I actually really like the second one now. I actually really like that one. Questions? Yes. Shift double click. I need to patent it. Yes. My patented shift double click trick. Questions? Rob says, wow. Okay, so for those of you that are here with doing some Luminar editing, I want to do the next one in Luminar. And I've got a series of images here that I shot basically with the idea of turning them into black and white. When I see stuff like this, not so much the flowers. Hang on, let me just move the flowers out of there. When I see stuff like this, I see these in black and white. Maybe not so much this one either. Okay. I see these in black and white, and because there's something that's bright that stands out, particularly these guys, right? And something that's dark, right? This one might actually work really interesting because we can change the tree and the green color separately. But I'm thinking this one. I'm thinking the rocks. Okay, so I want to do the rocks in Luminar, but I want to take this one over as a raw file. Okay, so in order to do that, I am just going to export source image. Okay, so no editing from Lightroom is going to come over. I'm going straight into Luminar with a raw file. Okay. I don't know if tea will grow in Alberta, Rob. Is there a hard light challenge going on right now? Yes, there is. In our DPM community, we actually have a monthly challenge with a prize worth $75 US dollars. So for Canadians, that's like over $100. Right now, it is hard light based on the lessons that we did a couple weeks ago. So their challenge is to produce an image and edit it taken with hard lighting, right? So we choose the group winner together. I do not vote. It's voted on by members, right? Last month, Linton won the challenge, and we had a private tutoring session together because that's what he chose as his prize. Lee says, yep, you showed that soft light is a lot easier to work with. It really is, right? For the most part. Again, I don't often photograph in the bright sun for that reason. There's very few subjects that I photograph in a bright sun, right? Now I want to find some black and white presets here. Let's see. Okay, that's portrait. I want it monochromatic. Let's do Mother Nature. No. See, half the time I find that presets, a lot of times I end up looking for a preset instead of just editing, and it takes me more time to edit the darn thing, okay? So the reason that I wanted to show this is that, let's just find one that's monochrome. You know what? I am going to go with this portrait one. Even though they're portraits, they're all monochrome. So I just want to show different black and whites, okay? So when we look at different black and whites, we should see the tones changing, and they are to some degree. But I want to show you the difference and what you can do because these things are different colors when you go to black and white, when you switch to black and white. Okay, so same thing we do in Luminar is always come to develop raw first. Okay, so in Lightroom, everything is developed raw. Okay, I have the Fuji profiles installed. I'm not going to worry so much about these because I'm going to convert this to black and white anyway. So I'm just going to go with the Luminar default. But what I do want to look at is the level of contrast. Okay, so in here, you can do that with your curve. Okay, or with the black and white sliders, just as I did in Lightroom. We don't have a shift double click trick, okay, but we do have clipping warnings. So I'm going to turn the clipping warnings on, and then on the curve, go to the bottom. So there's these three dots below the curve. The one on the right takes care of the white. So as I increase this one or pull it in, it's pushing the histogram. Watch the histogram. It's pushing the histogram to the right. Okay, so I'm getting whites clipping off the end. If I do the same with this one, it's pushing blacks off the end. Okay, so I want to push this till I have a little bit of clipping on the blacks. So you want to clip the blacks, you don't want to clip the whites. So this one goes to clipping too fast. Okay, so I do these ones first, and then I go to the black and white sliders. Okay, so the sliders at the bottom of the curves tool go further. Okay, because if I go all the way with this thing, I can literally just make gray. Okay, it's not giving me gray, but oh, I know why. I can literally just make gray if I go all the way. I'm not doing the right thing here. I'm not doing the right thing here. Let's just do that. Okay, back to my blacks. Okay, so you can go a lot further with it. Okay, so I can make the image pure white or pure black. Okay, on this one, it goes slower. So if I increase this, right, put my clipping warnings back on, it just doesn't go as fast. So I can increase it a little bit before I start to get some clipping in the leaf here. Okay, so we can zoom in so you can see the clippings. So the clipping is the red notices. Okay, so I bring it up till I get a little bit, right? And then highlights back down again to maintain the highlights. Okay, now all I've done is a curve and a couple of sliders. Okay, see the difference? We've got some clipping off the black end, which is fine. Okay. The other thing I want to do under here is I generally always check off chromatic aberration. That happens automatically in Lightroom, okay? And I'm not really doing much else here, okay? You could try smart contrast, okay? I find that this one is actually pretty good, but I still prefer the control that I have with the curves tool and the sliders instead, okay? So I'm going to leave this one here, okay? I'm going to crop this a little bit because I don't like this white rock over here. So I'm going to go free aspect ratio, and I might even go a square actually. Yeah, let's try a square. I like that. Okay, because this one here, for me, this shape lends itself really nicely to be cropped into a square. All right, I'm going to tilt it a little bit because it feels crooked. Just kind of straightening this here. Okay. Again, we don't know what straight is, but it's about how does it look in the image. And I wanted to straighten my these blocks a little bit here. Okay. Now let's go to black and white. Okay. So do your edits in color first, then go to black and white. Okay. One thing we could do here as well. One thing to note in Luminar's black and white conversion, there is no orange slider. So if you want to control things that are orange, okay, and darken them or lighten them, use the color tool first, okay, because there is an orange slider here. So I'm going to go to the color tool and orange luminance because I want to darken the sticks a little bit. Okay. I can also adjust blues if I want, okay, but that I can do with the black and white slider. So I'm not too worried about that. Mostly it's the orange that I want to really control, okay. Now, when I go to black and white and convert to black and white, I need to work with this because I want the rocks to be darkened and the leaves to stand out, okay. So we know that the rock has blue in it. So I'm going to bring all of these colors down. There we go. The leaves have green, and it's not coming out as much as I would like. So you know what we can do. Right. Oh, there's some yellow in there as well. I can go back to that color tool, just one below. So go to your edits, go back one step, right? And I'm going to come over to luminance and brighten the greens. See how it's brightening that one? Okay. I don't want this one as bright, so I'm just going to mask it off real quick with a brush. Okay, because I don't want these ones brightened. They're overly bright already. And I only used the brush because it was just quick and easy. Okay, so see what that's doing? Okay, now if I don't want these lichens brightened, I can mask those off as well, but let's see how it plays out in the black and white. Okay, I don't mind that at all. Okay, so look what that's doing. There we go. Right, now I can add an edge vignette. So everything that I do is always to bring your eye into the subject. Okay, so same here. So here's where I go to -100, set my feather, and of course it's a circle, right? Just gonna get it a little bigger so it doesn't get rid of that one on the bottom there. Yeah, roundness is not really giving us anything. Oh, that works. There we go. I don't want to cut this leaf off at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm setting my roundness and my shape, the size. Right, then I set feather, and I'm going to go pretty strong on this one. About like that. Yeah, about like that. Okay, now the other thing we can do is structure. Again, if I want to bring attention to the leaves and not the rock, I want to take structure away from the rocks. Okay, so lowering structure gives you sort of this fuzziness, right? And also, I'll just do object select and minus it from the leaves. I don't know if it's going to pick up foliage if I do mask AI. I find that object select, especially when they're bright like this, I don't want to have to pick every single one. Let's try mask AI. So I want to minus it off the leaf. I try the mask AI tools first because I don't want to have to paint that in individual leaves. Flora. So when you click it once, see, that's not doing what I wanted at all. It's removing it from up there as well. So this one is not giving me what I wanted. So let's go back to object select. I'm going to add this back in. And just paint it. So notice how I had to do like 3 different types of masks to get sort of the selection I wanted, right? And now we've got this mask that's kind of clunky around things. We can use the new sliders to feather the edge or soften the edge. So when we zoom in, okay, so watch what feather does. Okay, so when you have a hard edge of your mask here, it just risks your edits appearing or showing obvious. So I can mask it and either bring it in or out. That works for me. Okay, so what this is doing, right, is just lowering the texture on the rock a little bit. Okay, so I'm actually going to copy that mask because it's pretty good and do the same with details. So I'm going to lower the medium details and then paste in that mask. Okay, so there's my before and after. So it's really punching up those leaves, right? We can also do the opposite. Texture on the leaves, paste the mask in and invert it. So I'm going pretty quickly, right? So what this does is it added the mask to the rocks, and then when I inverted it, it's on the leaves now. Okay? And it's a little bit on this rock too. So I'd have to do a bit more masking to get this one nicer blending, right? But that's kind of the look that I was going for, like super, really want the leaves to stand out, okay? And my usual, I would probably finish it off with maybe an Orton effect. Orton effect tends to add glow to the dark areas as opposed to the light areas. You do need to bring your brightness down, I find. But it gives us this ethereal sort of quality, right? So that's my vision for this one. right? I could let this one go dark as well and just focus on these two leaves as another option, right? In which case I could just come back to color and do not so much adjusting on that one, right? Not so much adjusting, so it's subtle, right? More focused on those leaves at the top. There we go. Something like that. I like that. Okay, questions? I could still brighten it a little bit. Now that I come back to develop, again, let's check for clippings. Okay, so there's nothing clipping. And do I want to add some more white? Okay, so I can add quite a bit of white here before I start to get clipping. So it's gone a little bit dark. And if anything, I actually want to lower the shadows. Okay, so that's another way of adding contrast. Okay, so when you have a hard light image and a high contrast image, you boost the shadows. When you have a low contrast image, you actually want to darken the shadows. There we go. Okay, so not so much the black slider, right, but the shadow slider, right? Yes, I like that. And it's really picked up a lot of texture here. I might take an Orton effect off. Not sure I like it now. Maybe just minimize it. Okay, so this last develop, okay, is making a big difference here when I lowered these shadows. Right? I'm very happy with that. Okay, so it's all about seeing the light and seeing which things in your image you want to bring out. Initially, I wanted to bring this third leaf out, and then I decided against it. Okay, I really like the shape and what's going on here. When I apply it, it's going to come back to Lightroom, of course, as a new TIFF. Okay? All right, coming back to Lightroom. Questions. What can I ask them, Rob? Let's do a little survey. Can you do a poll in the thing? I don't know how to do a poll from here. Okay, so where did it go? Probably at the bottom here. Where did it go? It's like completely gone from the it's gone from the where are we? Oh, there it is. It did not come into, there it is. There we go. So notice that it came at the bottom of my collection. I'm in a collection, right? Because I had my collection sorted by custom order. So it automatically puts the image that comes in at the bottom, right? If you have it sorted by file name, it would be side by side, right? So there's the original and there's the finished black and white. Could I do the same in Lightroom? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Now this guy, again, I could do this one. To me, speaks as black and white as well because of the contrast between the fern and the background, right? So I would just do black and white. Look at that, okay? So right out of the gate, shift double click, add some clarity, add a vignette, and look at how close we got. That took me, what, 10 seconds. So monochrome, and I haven't even done anything with the sliders, right? I can darken these things in the background. That's got the yellow leaf, so that's not too good. I'm going to darken every other color. There we go. I also have subject and background. That's a preset that I created for myself. And in that preset, it only does the selections. Okay, so all I want to do here is literally just darken the background. Get rid of some of these highlights. right? And I'll often do a little bit of minus clarity or minus texture, right? Just to get rid of things there. Look at that. When I break the blacks in the background, right? Now there's a few things that I would probably clean up in the background, and I might just do it with the remove tool. So I'll just get rid of some white spots. Just like that. Really quick. And I'm not using the generative remove or anything, just the regular old remove tool. And it does a really good job on spots like this. Right? I would do this one up here too. See, that one didn't do as good a job because it's too close to the leaf. I'll just remove that one. Great. So again, every time I mask with AI, it wants me to update that thing. So again, before and after, super quick, because I saw the contrast between the subject and the background. To me, it speaks as a black and white. It speaks to me as black and white. That's a good question. How do you know which images you should make black and white and which ones you should do in color, right? Do you have a good concept of that, right? What if I want to make any of these black and white? So I'm going to just copy this one. Yeah, I'm going to copy the settings here, except for obviously the, where are we? Erasing. Okay, so I don't want the remove tool. Other than that, I will copy the rest. Okay, and I can put it on any of these here and see if it works. Okay, so do we want black and white daffodils? Well, let's find out. Copied and pasted. Yeah, I'm not sure what AI it's doing. Must be the background selection. Great. A little dark, but otherwise not too bad, right? Let's try this one. Now this one, I might have to push the greens up and the orange down, but let's see how it looks in black and white. Okay, so it looks flat. This is a good example. Okay, so I'm going to come to this one because the image itself, when you convert things like green and brown, their tones are very similar. Okay, also sky, blue and green are very similar. But in here, I want to brighten the green and the yellow, right? And darken the orange, which is the tree. Darken the orange and the red. Okay, see the difference? And then once again, I can come in and do a curve to add to the contrast. And I'm going to crop in just a little bit on this side. Like so. Okay, so can you see how I saw that as a black and white as well, right? Let's try this one. Copy and paste one more time. Now there's a weird sort of color going on in this bottom corner here. It's like a blue haze, right? It's gone dark, but let's just see if I brighten it. Get my exposure back. Let's lighten the vignette a little bit. Again, really quickly, before and after. Oh, it's doing a lens correction as well, obviously. There we go. Okay, so before and after, it's done a really nice job. And once again, I saw that in black and white. And then things I would do to clean it up, just get rid of some of these little white spots. And I just use the remove tool, right? So it's not using generative at all, just using the regular old remove tool, right? This stick here, I would probably remove because it's super distracting, right? So I would use the remove tool again. and just get rid of it. The remove tool is really quite brilliant, I have to say. Look at that. Right? It's not AI. Not even AI. Just regular old remove tool. Okay? And if you want to just darken things, remember, you can just dial the opacity down. Okay, so if I want to just darken these sticks in the background here, okay, I can just dial it down to 80% or lower. Maybe a little crop. I feel like this one is crooked too. Again, crooked is subjective when you're dealing with something like this, so you position it how it looks best. Okay. I'm not sure what that is. Puppy dog love. I don't know what that is that you're putting in there. Rob, can you check to make sure? Did you have a question? Because all we're seeing is strange characters. Right? Oh, again, needs an update. So anything that's done with AI, any of the AI tools, like I use Mask AI, anytime you apply something else with AI, it has to be updated, right? So a lot of times I like scenes like this in black and white because of the contrast, okay? And even though it's soft light and it's low contrast to begin, we have lots of ways to add contrast, right? We've got the blacks and the white sliders, clarity and dehaze, increased contrast, tone, and color grading, right? As well as the black and white sliders, right? Because I could take this even farther, right? If I want to brighten the, oh, that's a little bit of yellow. I could bring the greens up even more, right? And the oranges down even more. So, like so. Okay, so every tool in here. Okay, you're going to get banned. Puppy dog's about to get banned because I don't know what you're trying to say here. This is a bunch of garbage. Bye-bye. Okay. Questions. How are we doing? Are you having a better understanding of soft light and how to edit it? Let's do a color image. This bird, I followed him around in a park in Japan. We were in one of these beautiful Japanese gardens, and he was kind of skulking behind some of these rocks and things. So I followed him, and I got some really nice portraits of him. There's this heron, okay? So this is a different shot than this one, but you've got the full reflection of the bird here, and let's see if we can edit him to look something like this, okay? Using Luminar Neo. So let's take this one into Luminar Neo. I've also got, also think this one is pretty good as well, right? You could bring this one in too. So let's do this one. I've also got some street photos and some people photos as well. But I know that people like nature and landscape. So let's do this one. Edit, export, and open. Oh, come on. Open source file. Okay. So I'm doing it this way just to bring it over to Luminar with the raw file. So if you just use Luminar exclusively, you don't have to do that. You just open the image. Now, before I do any edits here, I think I'm going to crop it first. Okay. I'm going to keep the original aspect ratio, but I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff on the left here. So even though he's looking this way and it's kind of, opposite of what I would normally do in terms of composition, I want space for him to look. I'm going to force the composition. So that's called forcing the composition. He's got less space to look, but I want to keep the full reflection and all of this beautiful tree part over here. Okay. So let's go to develop raw. Okay, once more, I do have the Fuji profiles. These had to be custom installed. Okay, but I'm going to stick with the Luminar one and just work with the sliders. Okay, so again, it's pretty flat. Okay, so when we look at the histogram, it's a little bit overexposed. So I'm going to dial this down just a bit. Now everything is in the middle. So we got lots of gray tones, a little bit of clipping on this highlight, which I'm not super worried about right now. More than anything, I want to add some blacks. Okay, so adding black until I get some clipping, look what the difference that makes. Okay, so if I remove that, okay, so all I did was darken the exposure slightly and then add some black. Look at how much more color it has. Okay, so you don't need the saturation slider when you have a flat image. You don't need saturation to get color. You just need black. Okay, I am going to bring the highlights down a little bit because I'm going to brighten the bird another way. Let's check the color because I want to warm him up a little bit. Let's give him a little bit of warmth. There we go. Maybe a little too magenta. Something like that. And I always like to check off chromatic aberration and distortion. Right? That looks pretty good. Now let's look at our histogram. Check the clipping again. Now that I have done that, I probably not darken it as much. I think I'm going to control this. I'm going to go with overall. This part of the image looks good. Actually, changing my mind again. I am going to leave it slightly dark because I'm going to brighten the bird separately. Okay, so let's do that. To get to develop a second time or you can mask, you have to apply something else first. Okay, so let's do enhance and let's just see what it does. Okay, enhance AI is a great tool in Luminar. Notice how it's punching up the contrast. So it's helping us solve that flat image problem. Okay, check the clippings overall. Again, I'm not going to go too far with this one. But once we apply a different tool on top of Develop Raw, now we can go back and fix that problem. Okay, so now I can come back and do minus the highlights until that solves in the water. And I don't want it on the whole image, just on the water. Okay, so I'm going to use Mask AI and it should pick the water for me. So Mask AI does a really good job of analyzing the image to look for different things in your different elements. Okay, so here I've got water, and indeed it should show me where the mask is. There we go. Okay, so it's picked up the water. Oh, it's picked up a little bit of the bird. So I definitely want to get it off of him. I'm just going to brush it off using the erase tool. So I don't need to have it over here. And I certainly don't need it on him. Okay, so I'm just getting the highlights down in the water. And it's really just this part that I'm concerned about. Okay, so as long as I've got that part, right, I can also, while I'm here, actually add some black. Watch the water. Right? Again, remember color. Water is kind of not colorful. Adding some black. Look at that. Right? Brings out the color. Now we're getting pretty close. Right? I'm going to do an edge vignette. And I love the Luminar one because I can reposition it. Okay, so I want to go real tight on this bird with a circle. And we can choose the subject. So he's in the middle of the circle like this. Make sure I get the reflection. Like that. Looks pretty good. So remember, dialing the feather down to -100 allows you to see the size and the shape, right? Feather back up over 70 and obviously a mount. Okay, so don't make vignettes that look like this. Okay, when you have a vignette that is clearly a spotlight, okay, it's not subtle enough. Okay, so it's either too dark or it needs more feathering. Even that's too dark. Okay, just subtle, darkening the edges. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm gonna go move it over so I darken more in front of him. There we go. So every time you click, it recenters the vignette wherever you're clicking. Okay. So see how he's already coming out? We're not done yet though. Right, next I'm going to go develop one more time, and I'm going to brighten and then just mask to the bird. Okay, so object select will do a really nice job of picking him as it did. Okay, so I want to make sure he's not clipping. Oop, get over there. So I'm brightening him. And let's give him a little bit of sharpness. He's clipping ever so slightly. Right. See how he's getting brighter? It's got a little bit of the water there, so I might want to fix that mask. But for the purposes of demonstration, I'm not too worried about it. Okay. There we go. Now he's brighter. And let's add some structure. So structure overall, right, is going to do this. But again, we just want it on the bird and maybe around him. Right, so I'm going to do, oops, object select again. And if I zoom in, let's see if it does a better job of picking him. Yeah, it's still not getting him perfect. It's got a little bit around the water there, so I'm just going to go in with a really small brush and erase it from there. I should do that on the other one as well. Okay. So we're adding some texture to him. Now that my mask is good, I can copy it and go and fix this one. So I'll paste it back into this one. So I just went one step back. See how it fixed that issue there? Yeah, it's a little bit around his head too. A little bit around his head right there. I'm going to feather this one a bit because he's literally feathered. There we go. Structure. Okay, so let's take a look at the before, right? You can't even see him. He's barely visible. Now he stands out a lot more, okay? This rock is still standing out as well as these ones back in here. So I'm going to go one more time with develop, okay? And I'm going to bring the exposure and the highlights down and then just paint it in with the brush where I want it, okay? So nice big brush. And I want it on these rocks and these rocks. Anything that's bright that's taking attention away from him, okay? This one, and our reflection one more time over here. Maybe even this tree up here. So I'm just kind of picking the highlighted areas, right? Like that. Okay, so see what that's doing? All those areas that are highlights, I'm lowering them. Okay, so they're not grabbing so much attention away from the bird. I want him to be the brightest, most obvious thing in the picture. Okay. Some of the wonderful tools we have in Luminar include the water enhancer, right, as well as the landscape. I'm not going to use a landscape tool, but let's make the water a little bit more bluish green, right? That's too much. Okay, so it's picking up him as well. So I got to erase it from him. Okay, so I'd erase it from the bird. And I don't want it up here so much. So it's picking up the water over here, and I'm not even sure that I want that water affected at all. Likewise over here. Right, and it shouldn't be picking up too much in the reflection. Okay, so now I want a little bit of green, not so much blue. And the contrast here is what really will bring in the reflection. So again, contrast adds black, right? I'm going to darken the whole thing. So now what I'm doing with the water enhancer is adding color and darkening. Everything to bring out this bird. Okay, so all of your local edits are again designed to manipulate contrast and tone. Manipulate contrast and tone so that your subject stands out the most, right? I think mystical will be good on this one, actually. Yes. We can even warm him up. I think that looks good. Fabulous. The other one I didn't try was color harmony. I'm not sure how much color contrast we've got here, but I can see about bringing him out. Oh, that actually does a nice job. That actually does a nice job there. Right, so let's do our before. Flat as a pancake. Bird stands out. Right. And I'm just looking at anything else that I might retouch. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it looks good. Another trick that you can use is if you want to see if your subject stands out, just do a quick black and white conversion as a test, okay? Without shifting anything, okay? Just lower the saturation or just do a black and white test. If your subject stands out, okay, in black and white, he probably is going to stand out in color as well. I don't like this image in black and white as much, but we could just do 50% color. Okay. It's actually doing a nice job. Maybe I'll use the color tool instead. Okay, so just get rid of black and white. I use the color tool to darken the blue, and I noticed that the bird's wings stood out more. So let's see his feathers. Oops. When I darken the blue, watch him. See how he darkens him? He's got some blue. He is a blue heron after all. So that's working well. And I'm going to dial the saturation of the green down just a little bit. Like so. Okay, so color tool is darkening my bird and just bringing things in line with color. Pretty happy with that. Romy says, hey, Romy, nice to see you. Colors often look flat under harsh light, so I convert the image to black and white. Yes, harsh lighting, hard light, actually works really well in black and white also because of the high contrast. Okay, so let me bring this one back into Lightroom. I have time to do one more today. Once this one comes in, it's going to come at the bottom again, so I'll just wait for it. And I'm going to let you guys decide which one you want me to do. I'm going to give you a choice here. We've got some street images, which I could do some grunge to. Let's see. I've got a cyclist. We've got a theme going on here with bikes. So let's go with these four. Yeah. Okay, so those are the four that I am considering. So no, I'm not doing a turtle. There was a frog on the first thing. That's as close as you're gonna get. So vote for 1, 2, 3, 4. So top row left is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So which one would you like me to edit? 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we've got the couple by the rickshaw, the bike rickshaw, the bike by the red gate, the cyclist going past the closed store with an interesting graffiti, or the folks in the residential neighborhood with a bike. So 1, 2, 3, or 4. Oh, sounds like the image is coming back into Lightroom. I don't want to exit out of here yet. I'll let you guys vote. I'm leaning towards, of course, there it is. 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back again. You like the red gate, Deb? Deb likes the red gate. Again, all Japan. I'm using Japan to edit because I've got so many of my last trip to edit, and we have another trip coming up, so I want to edit some of these before I go again. So you guys are helping me get through my Japan images, and I'm using them to demonstrate. So it sounds like number 2 is the overwhelming favorite here, the gate with the bike. Who doesn't like bikes, right? Neil likes number 4. I like number 4 too, Neil. Let's see if we can do both. Well, let's see about copy and pasting. Okay, so let's just take this one into develop and see if we can do something that we can copy and paste to the other ones. Okay, so if I know, all right, so I'm not going to go black and white on this one, and I know that the sky is blown out, but I'm not so concerned about that. Okay, so I'm going to go with a camera matching profile, right? And ooh, that one's actually kind of nice. Or you can actually go and choose one of the Adobe profiles that comes with Adobe with Lightroom. This is kind of like applying a LUT, okay? So if I look at one of these here, I really like vintage number 7. I kind of use this one a lot. It gives a green tint to things, but it's almost just getting rid of all the color except the red and the green. This one's kind of nice too, right? Or we can just come up with something that copies. Let's see. There's the artistic ones also. Where are we? Artistic ones tend to be a faded as well. And when we shift, oh, I like that one. I'm going to go with artistic number 7. And the first thing I notice is that the image is crooked. So I'm going to straighten it using the auto here. And it didn't do a perfect job because what's happening is it doesn't know what to straighten, right? So if I use transform instead, let's see if I get a different result. I'll use level. I think that's better, right? So I'm looking at, is this line in the middle, the gate here, straight? So I'm looking at this line, okay? Whenever you're doing straightening, when you've shot something from the side or looking up or down, you're going to be dealing with perspective. So always look at your lines in the middle of the image, okay? Those are the things that should be straight, okay? I could also try auto, okay? So auto, it kind of stretched it out a little bit. Yeah, see, it's making this side even, so I'm not sure about that. I just want level and vertical. There we go. Yeah, it's still not giving me what I want, and it's cropped some now. So let's just reset it. I'm going to do it manually. I don't know what it's doing. It should give me a reset here. I don't know why it's cropped in a bit. Okay, let's just do that. Yeah, it's kind of hard to estimate, isn't it? If I go vertical, I kind of like this stuff on the side here. Okay, we're going to go vertical. All right, so that's my correction, right? So I've gone vertical and it's mostly corrected the vertical lines, right? Cropping. I could come in to the roof. I don't want to lose this thing over here, so I could come in a little bit into this post maybe, because the post really doesn't go with the scene. So let's maybe get rid of the post, and that comes into the top of the roof. So let's see how that looks. Now it's gotten rid of a lot of the sky that's blown out, which is good, and we focus more here. So I think that's probably a good crop. I'll come back just a little bit. Let's go with that. Okay, so it gets rid of most of the sky problems, right? Now we can see the image. So we still got, no, we're not clipping in the sky now because that preset. Okay, so the preset kind of is like a faded out color. I'm still going to do my shift double click trick. Oh, see, it does want to go the other way on the whites. I'm not worried about the sky at all, right? As long as I'm not blowing out this area, I'm not worried about the sky in the least, right? I could also try the adaptive profile, but I know I want to sort of do more of a grunge look here. So I'm going to stick with either the artistic one or I'm going to come back to my Fuji profiles. Let's come back to Fuji. Right. Now it's blue. So let's see about correcting that. So I'm clicking on the gray concrete here. Maybe let's try this stone. That looks pretty good. A little bit on the warm side. If anything, I want to go more towards yellow and green, right? And then I will embrace that sort of yellow green tint. Okay, the sky's clipping, but I'm not worried about it because I'm gonna either blur it out or change the color, right? Or just let it be blown out. Right? I'm gonna do a vignette. Now this one here is tricky. So if we look at it upside down, all right, and we look at just the image, where does your eye go? Your eye is drawn to the sky and this area here, right? So I'm inclined to definitely do something with the sky, and I'm not sure if it's going to pick it up if I do sky selection here for a mask. Oh, it did. Okay, it's picking up the roof as well. Okay, so I can just darken it, and I'm not too worried about it. That's actually not too bad. It did a pretty good job. I want to darken this wall here as well. So I'm going to name this. Okay, so it's about controlling the tones. I want the eye to go here, not over here. So let's see if I can just darken that with color mixer. So I'm just kind of, ooh, that's nice. Look at that. Gives us more orange. Okay. No, I'm going to have to select the wall with a mask. So I'm just going to do object select and paint over the wall. It's just this white part. See what it's doing? Just darken that wall. Perfect. While I'm here, I'm going to do another object select. I use object select a lot in Lightroom now that it has that feature, because you can just really quickly draw around something and it will select it for you, right? So see how it selected that obelisk or whatever it is? I want to brighten it a little bit. See that? Because it's getting a little dark. There we go. Now I'm going to do a bottom vignette. So I just use M on my keyboard, which is a gradient mask or a linear mask, right? So it's darkening from the bottom up like this because that sidewalk is too dark. And we're getting close. So before, after. Before, after. I'm still not happy with it. I want to add like some grunge or something. And again, I'm not super excited about what Lightroom does in those areas, so I would probably take it to Luminar to do that. I can add some sharpness here, but I don't have the option of, medium details and things like that that I do in Luminar. So I would use the details panel in Luminar and probably add like a LUT, right? So I'm going to go back to that artistic one that I had before. Where are we? Artistic 7. Let's go back to that one. I think that's getting closer to what I was kind of envisioning for this image. Remember I said you can dial these profiles up or down. So if I use it, but dial it down a little bit, I think I'm happier with that. Okay, now it's flattened everything out again. So we got to go back and add like a curve or something. So every time you apply one thing, you got to go back and check your other things, right? Nah, still not happy with it. If you're not happy, go back to your history. And when I applied that profile, I'm just going to go back one step because this is better. I think this was better. So I'm just going to add some yellow. And add some green. There we go. That's better. Now, if I want that matte look, all I have to do is go to curves and lift up the blacks. Right now, you can see this matte black look. Okay, so I can lower the whites as well. And you end up with this sort of flat, like a watercolor sort of flatness, right? So think about printing on gloss paper versus watercolor. Still not thrilled with this one, but let's see how this one carries over to the other images. Okay, so I'm going to go to sync to all of them. Okay, so I'm going to select the tools that I used. I'm not going to crop. Does it allow me to uncrop? Doesn't want to copy it. Okay, so I'm going to synchronize to the other 3 that are still selected. And let's see if we see them come into those colors. Live time. There we go. Oh, it did crop. Looks like it did crop and it transformed. So it's not working as well on all of those. Oh, I shouldn't have done transform. Well, that one's kind of neat though. That one's kind of neat. I don't mind the color of this one. And we need to untransform. Transform is another one that I shouldn't have copied over. I just want to straighten it. That's all. But the camera profile here that I applied is kind of interesting. Or the color toning that I applied here is kind of interesting, right? It's giving a very 70s sort of vibe, right? Let's try artistic on this one. Vintage 7 is my favorite. Oh, I do like, see, Vintage 7. I always go back to the same ones. You know, you're starting to get a style when you come back to the same things over and over again, right? So if you tend to use the same kind of LUT all the time, if you tend to use the same camera profile, that's probably your style, okay? I want to crop this one, and I feel like the image, I feel like the image is over here. I don't want all this, come on. It doesn't want me to unlock, there we go. I feel like the image is over here. I want less stuff over there. What do you think? Neil, that was the one you liked. What do you think? I kind of like this one. It feels like, you know, like old world Tokyo, old world Japan, right? Let's see how it worked on the other ones. Not so much on this one. It's taking forever to come up here. Come on. What's it doing? That was strange. Actually, let's copy this one. Let's copy this one, except for... See, it does take the crop. I don't know why it wants to do crop. There we go. Ah, it was linked to aspect ratio. There we go. Let's try it on the couple. On here. We got something really dark going on at the bottom here. They are very green. I don't think they want to be green. Again, kind of an old world feel. So there's something that's gone on with my camera down here because I think my lens shade was crooked. So if you get a corner like this that's black, okay, it's probably because your lens shade was on crooked. So I'll just crop it out. Still not sure that's straight. Reasonably straight. So that kind of gives them an old world feel as well. I like that too. I like that a lot. As a matter of fact, I might just send it to them. These are a couple of people that I traveled with in Japan. Right, so questions. We've talked about strategies for enhancing contrast, tools. I'll do one more really quick one and just review. Okay, so the first thing you could try in Lightroom is your adaptive camera profile or adaptive color profile if you've shot raw. Okay, so another one of the reasons to shoot raw right out of the gate. Look, that looks pretty good. Set your white points and your black point, your white point and your black point. So end points on the histogram. Clarity will add contrast as well. Make sure you mask it to just the subject if you're doing a lot of it though. Okay. Color mixer will also help you add contrast, right? Because in here, okay, I can darken all of the blues and green colors, right? Like so. Masking, likewise, will help you do the same, right? A tone curve. I'll just do a quick one here. So just a quick S curve. Like so. Like that. And I need to correct the color because he's feeling a little green. There we go. He's a little green. Like so. Subject and background. And I hope you're counting how long this takes me real time because I've spent, what, a couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes on this, right? And I'm literally just dialing things down to bring him out, right? And give him some clarity. Remember, clarity on the subject only, not the whole thing. Like so. He's good. And then I would use the remove tool to get rid of all these little speckles in the water. All these little white dots. Oh, see, it's reminding me, change your opacity. Thank you very much, Lightroom, for reminding me because I had lowered the opacity and it always does the thing you did last, which is good and annoying at the same time, right? Because this time I wanted 100% and it didn't give me 100%. I might crop this one a little bit too, but overall, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm just getting rid of these highlights. I like the fact that he has a little feather on his back that's sort of standing out. Update the AI. And this one actually, at the end of the day, might work well in black and white too because of now the contrast I've created, right? So look at the difference, right? I can really work with that. Did I put a vignette on him yet? No. There we go. Okay, so huge difference contrast-wise, blacks and whites, camera profile, clarity, curves, and color mixer. Okay, so those are your friends in Lightroom. And when you're working in Luminar, your develop tool, smart contrast, tone curve, blacks and whites, all the same tools, right? Plus the color harmony tool, right? Because if I pull this one into color harmony, I think I could do something really, really nice with this one as well. Right? So I'm quite happy with my bird. He looks good. I chased the poor fellow around for a half an hour. There was probably 30 people photographing this bird. Okay, so I'm just going to leave him on the screen here while we talk about what's coming next. It's holiday weekend coming up in both Canada and the US for July. So what are we thinking, Rob, in terms of doing a live next month? Because we've got Sunday the 5th, which is right after, that's a long weekend in the States. So I think we're going to alter the dates again for July. It's going to be the 12th and the 26th because I'm gone on the 19th, right? Or I'm just back. So 12th and the 26th will be the July topics. And we'll see how it goes with, we might continue with the more of this lighting stuff, or we might move into color. So we've talked about hard versus soft light, and we've talked about the quality of light. So now the next thing that makes sense for us to move into is color of light. And we kind of did some of that along the way here, but let's just keep going with the theme. What do you think, Rob? Color of light. Minimize or close my apps to see if we can get the sync back. What happens is when I change scenes, it just happens when I change scenes, Rob. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry. I can try changing the mic delay. Does that make any difference? Go back to full screen. I am full screen. So am I synced up? I'm out of sync. I don't know. So not a lot of questions or comments today. I'd love to hear from you in the chat if you're still here, or in the comments if you're watching this recording later. Oh, another thing I want to mention too is that if you're watching this today and you need to pick up Luminar Neo, it is on sale for, I think, till tomorrow, the 30th. What's today? 2 more days. I think it's on sale till the 30th. And if you use my discount code DPM20, so not our regular one, DPM20, you'll get 20% off Luminar Neo as opposed to 10%. Now, I do believe that works on sale prices as well. So if it's on sale, you can get another discount. If you're watching this video after June 30th, you can try DPM 20, but most likely that will have expired. It only goes till the 30th. DPM 10 will work for you after that. Just a couple of mentions. I want to remind you that we have our DPM community. I mentioned earlier that we have the challenges every month with prizes. We also have a full Luminar Neo course as well as a Lightroom course. Okay, so if you want to pick up any of our courses, check out our store. There's a link to that in the description area below for you, as well as getting some of our keyboard shortcuts. If you need to grab a keyboard shortcut, we have links for those in the description area below. So Lightroom and Luminar and Photoshop, there's free keyboard shortcuts for you to download at any time, right? And that's about it. I would like to stress the DPM community. Lots of our DPM members, community members are here in the chat. So if you are a community member, say hi, I'm a member in the chat so that the other people watching know you're a member and what you get out of being a member. I'd love to hear from you. If you are watching the replay and you're a member, tell us in the comment area, what do you get out of being a member of our community? For $9 a month, there's so much value there. You literally get one of these live events with me every week, whether it be editing together or photography challenge, or we now have tech talk helping you with things like backing up your files, removing stuff on your hard drive and cleaning up space so your hard drive's not so full, right? So all of those things are part of the community, as well as just a great place to share your images and chat and get feedback that isn't all the nastiness that you get on social media. We also tend to get to know one another, so there's a lot of private jokes and you get to know some great people. So unlike Facebook, where there's groups full of hundreds and thousands of people that are all just sort of nameless and faceless, put a face to the DPM members and join in with our lives and get to know each other, get to know some fabulous people. Sheila's here, Matt's a member, Janet's a member, quarterly webinars as well. Romy's a member, Neil's a member, Lee that was here earlier, Deb, lots of members in the chat. So thank you all for joining. I gotta find my screen to come back to. There we go. All right, I'm probably out of sync again, but I'm going to trivia night tonight with some friends that I play pickleball with. So I've got to wrap it for today. Thanks everybody for joining in. It's been a really great afternoon. I hope you learned lots, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks, July 12th. So take care, everyone.